The following program has been rated GE by the Kenya Film Classification Board. It is therefore suitable for general family viewing.
Hello viewer, welcome to Chungu cha Jamii. I'm your host Eunice Mugo. Today we are having the second part of the previous segment where we're talking about drugs and substance abuse. What are you facing as an individual? What are you facing as a family? What are you seeing your neighbor going through, and how can you be able to help them? Today we are going to talk more on way forward. After knowing the root cause, what is the way forward? How can you be helped? How can you walk out of this pit hole that you are in when you're doing drug and substance abuse? Send in your question, your comments across all our social media networks. That's GBS TV Africa. Our SMS line is 21144. I'm not alone. I have guests with me who are going to help us to understand better on how to crawl out of this hole and be better people in our society and best leaders in our generation. I will allow them to introduce themselves. Welcome, guests. Starting with you, the lady.
Okay, thank you, Eunice. My name is Catherine Mwati, counseling psychologist and an addiction counselor, working also with families, because addiction is a family disease.
You're welcome on the show. To you, Mister.
Thank you, Eunice. My name is Benjamin Mudoka. I'm a specialist in mind education, a preacher of the gospel, and also I do many other things and counseling.
Welcome on the show,
Thank
a
you.
lady and a gentleman. So on our previous segment, we had talked about the root causes. Like mentioned, I had mentioned that we did not have enough time, that I'll try and welcome you again for us to know the way forward. Now, today I want us to talk about the way forward. Now, I've realized I have issues, I have challenge when it comes to drug and substance abuse. We had mentioned previously about blueprint and also genetic disorder, like you had mentioned. And now, I have known I'm allergic to alcohol. I've known I'm allergic to, name the substance that I'm allergic to. In the first place, how do I know I'm allergic to this? Because if I've not tried it, then I won't know I'm allergic. I have to take egg for me to know, get the rashes, get the reaction to know I'm allergic to this. If I'm allergic to cold, I'm asthmatic, then I'll have to be exposed to the cold weather or the dust for me to understand, I'm allergic to dust, so that whenever there is dust, I'm able to cover myself. So in this case of talking about substance and drug abuse, how do I know I'm allergic to this so that I may be able to shun away from it?
Thank you, Eunice. A very good question. Mm-hmm. Why am I saying a very good question? Because families struggle and wonder, how did I get in this space? Mm-hmm. You know, for us to be able to know that we are allergic, or we cannot take any psychoactive drug, we don't need to indulge for us to know. Mm-hmm. We look at our families. And when we are looking at our families, not only our parents, not only our siblings, we are looking at our aunts and uncles, our grandparents, mm-hmm. and that lineage, our cousins, and all that. And you might realize there is a thread in our family that all the cousins from my mother's side, they are struggling with alcohol. Mm-hmm. Maybe all the cousins from my dad's side, they are struggling with either suicidal ideations, or they have attempted, or many other, whatever could be happening. Mm-hmm. So what do? When I pick this thread, we call it insight. I've already started gaining insight about my family tree. And with the family tree, if they struggle, you realize, if it's like the brothers to my dad, or the uncles from, or aunties from my mom's side, I've also realized the thread. So what do? I've realized it's not only my elders, even the ones of my age, and then I will start digging deeper from my family. And this now should be something which keeps me off the substance. Why? I don't want to be like the other person. So with that kind of awareness, this is where now you address yourself. How do I want to live this life? Do I want to find myself in the same space with my family as in the area of drugs? And one can make a choice. And also being fully aware. And this is where I also tell families, it's good to be aware of the genes. And knowing that I might be there and not even have it. But when it goes to the next generation, this gene now comes out, and it might be my child. So how will I treat it? I need, with this awareness, to start telling them from the word go. In our lineage, we are allergic. The same way we talk to our children about, in our lineage, we have a challenge with asthma, we have a challenge with diabetes and all this. We tell them early. Number two, in event, you realize there are a cycle of mental health disorders in your family. It is good to be aware that in event you realize your child is struggling, let there be a checkup by the professionals. Why? Most of the young people who start using substances, they use it to self-regulate themselves because of discomfort they are going through. So if I have discomfort because of maybe a condition like depression or ADHD, bipolar, name it, what do I do? Let me take this child for the proper care, mental assessment and diagnosis and treatment, and this now will help me and help my child not to be in drugs. Others, if they are using because of the environment, the home environment, because at times the home environment can be very distressful, especially a family where there is violence, there is rejection, there is a lot of children are not allowed the space to be children. And we know what happens in dysfunctional families. So what do I do? This is where now, with this awareness, as a parent, what do I start to do differently? If I'm the cause of the stress or confusion in my child, how do I start working on that to make sure that the family is a place where they will find comfort and even see the need to be part of this family, having a cohesive family. Unfortunately, more often than not, because of the dysfunctionality we grew in, we perpetuated the same in our families. So unless somebody comes in and says, excuse me, this is not the right thing. So it might be difficult for somebody to. However, we recommend families always work towards having a moment of speaking to one another and being open so that you can be able to know, are we on the right path or not? Okay.
Oh, sorry. Coming to you, Mr. Benjamin, like I had asked before, of if I should experiment for me to know I'm allergic. Maybe from the mindset perspective, I'd want to hear, from where you're seated, how do you perceive that? Should I go exploring? And also as a preacher, maybe to look at it, Madam Catherine has mentioned, you don't have to go exploring, but rather know. Now that I've known, there's this thing we hear religiously being told you have to cut your family ties, you have to do rituals, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H. Just a lot of things need to be done. And you find that, especially at this era, allow me to put this out, we're having a lot of religious brainwash, whereby for sure I'm struggling. As a family, we are struggling. But here we want a solution. We are coming to you as the man of God, but instead of you giving us a sober solution, you end up telling us, oh, you have to give sacrifice for you, you have to give sacrifice for your family, and yet I've used and exhausted everything that I have. I can only sacrifice myself in this place. Please help us.
Thank you very much, Eunice, for the question. I'm really thankful because of my sister, Catherine. She's doing a good work, actually. But there is something that I want us to get much to know about it. When we talk about mind education, we are talking about the world of the heart. But now, the problem is, most of the people, without realizing the world of their hearts, they are living. Number two, I keep on quoting about this wise man, Solomon. But the men that God used in the Bible, forget about like now what you're talking about, people getting manipulated because of the problems that they have. We talk about the real men of God who spoke in the Bible. There is one man called Prophet Jeremiah, and then one time he wrote and then he was asking, and he said, the heart is deceitful above all things and desperately wicked. Who can know it? A question. And then the answer comes in, I, the Lord, search the heart. I try the reins to give every man according to the fruit of his doing. Which means the world of the heart, the person who can tell about the world of the heart, it's God himself. It is him who knows where he placed your heart, your mind, the one where all the issues of life that you meet come from. It's a secret. So when we go back to that manufacturer, the factory setting, even when you buy a phone, it has the factory settings, and then you keep on adding your own things continuously, isn't it? It's now where we lead to the functions of the heart. And these functions of the heart, there are four major. Number one is emotion. Many people, as they live their life, they live following their emotions. And because they do not understand the world of their heart, whatever comes from them, actually one of the most scary person to live with is an emotional person, because they depend on their feelings. They wake up, they're happy. And one thing that I know, you will give people, ama in short utaambukiza watu kitu yenye uko nayo. You wake up and then you're feeling sad. Everybody that you meet, you make them sad. You wake up, you're feeling very happy. Everybody that you meet, you make them happy. You are thankful. Everyone you meet, you make them to become thankful. So one of the scary things to live, or a person to live with, is the person who relies on emotions. Even an organization that people are dealing with the emotions, you can imagine you have your boss, and then he comes there, he's very mad at everyone. You cannot even tell why. It is so scary to live with such a person. And that's why we come now to the second function of the heart, which is reasoning. But this one, we can only get it from education. That's why you cannot, for me, I have three kids, and two boys. One is in grade 7, the junior high school, and the other one is in Form 1. For them, they think like, we are all in Form 1. So I'm in Form 1, you are in junior high, so we are in high school. But when you look at them, their way of reasoning, it's not the same, because one of them is higher than the other. So the same way a person who is in, or let's say, primary school people, the way they reason, and a student in high school, the way they reason, it's not the same. Mm-hmm. So the higher the level of education, the higher you enhance your way of reasoning. So this one, we get it from school, and it is the one that makes us to have a very great hope of the future, how we are going to live in the future. Mm-hmm. Actually, this hope is the third function of the heart. That's why in school, we get a lot of hope. And this is given by the politicians. It is given by the great people. You listen to a great person speaking, and then you gain a lot of hope. And then you think, because of my education, then I'll be a great person. Mm-hmm. But I'm telling you the truth. My sister, she can attest to this. Most of the people that she meets who are drug addicts, people who are fallen into drugs, are not people who are not educated. Most of them, they are degree holders. Yes. But what is the problem? They had a lot of hope, but problem, they did not know that was a function of the heart, and it is given by people, and the people who speak, they are doing well. And they're speaking to people who are trying to make their life. You wait, you have a lot of hope, and then first year, I finished my campus, second year, third year, fourth year, and then later, you start falling into despair. Mm-hmm. These people become isolated, and then after they get isolated, now they fall into drugs. Mm-hmm. And that's why now we need the function number 4, which is the mind, the right mind. But this one does not come from, it cannot be given by educators, it cannot be given by politicians or great people. Mm-hmm. This one now has to go back to the manufacturer of our hearts. Mm-hmm. And that's why he's asking. He's saying, the heart is deceitful above all things and desperate wicked. Who can know it? I, the Lord, search the heart. It is him who can now correct that heart. Mm-hmm. So one of the best things that we can, a solution that we can get is to go back to the Creator, to the blueprint, and then we see where did the problem start, and then we replace it.
Interesting. When we come back after this break, I'd want us to talk about, he has mentioned about now, once you've known and the blueprint, now you've said that a lot of people who abuse drugs are degree holders. Now my question comes in, it is out of sheer knowledge that we also advertise and say too much alcohol is not good for your health. Is it that they don't know, or they don't, is it ignorance that they don't take that to know that this that I'm engaging myself to is going to cause me a lot of harm than any good? In as much as they are learned and educated, what makes them to be ignorant to that level too? You also have doctors who are abusing drugs, yes, but they're the same people who are cautioning us that we are going to die if we continue using it. I'd want us to know, why is it that we tend to ignore that bit? We are educated, we are learned, but yet we are the culprit of the first people to preach water and take wine by our own selves. Viewer, let's continue this conversation. Send in your question, your comments across all our social media networks. That's GBS TV Africa. Our SMS line is 21144. We'll be back shortly.